everyone, this is Mindy and I'm going to be covering the week 3 video for public policy. I decided to do a NASPA article that covered the HEA Reauthorization Act. HEA is the Higher Education Act of 1965, and it has to be reauthorized by Congress every so many years. It is intended to strengthen the educational resources for colleges and universities and also provide assistance for post-secondary students. So it's a really important policy. One of the things that we're seeing as far as what Professor Dynarski pointed it out is that higher education is becoming more and more important. Those people who are able to finish their degree programs and go on to finish their bachelor's have end up earning 119% more than those who just have a high school diploma or less. So one of the other statistics that she mentioned that was actually pretty disturbing is that even if students do attend college, if they do not finish and they end up dropping out for financial reasons or other personal reasons, their chances of attaining, even a middle level position are pretty much the same as somebody with just a high school diploma. So completion and retention are really kind of the main focus, and that ties back to finances and financial aid, which is where the HEA Education Act of 1965 comes in. So some of the recurring themes that are emerging in this article and that connect back to the weekly readings is that with any program or policy that comes into place, everything is going to cost money. So in 2008, when the recession was kind of at its peak, state governments and the federal government greatly reduced the amount of subsidies that they provided post-secondary institutions in the form of grants and monies that would help with operational cost and reducing tuition. So when they did that, post-secondary institutions placed that burden upon the student in the form of increased tuition. And so since then, tuition has quadrupled, and students are really struggling, and we're finding more and more students are actually defaulting on their loans. So the common theme is just kind of getting placed to how do we get how do we produce great quality workers with less student loan debt? And this is what people are hoping that the HEA reauthorization will not only address. So not only does it need to be reauthorized, many people also believe that it needs to be expanded. Some of the problems that we're running into is with the Department of Education. There is currently a request for loan forgiveness, especially for students who have been defrauded for for-profit institutions like ITT Tech. Even teachers who are wanting, like myself, who are wanting loan forgiveness for teaching at a Title I school for at least 5 years. Loan forgiveness has really kind of been on hold for the past 18 months because DeVos is claiming that there's so much red tape and they need more information before they can actually start releasing those taxpayer funds. So that's becoming an issue. So as of now, higher ed institutions are not getting additional funding. Students are not getting additional relief in paying these. So, we have to kind of get creative on what we're going to do with the money that we have. So Dr. Edinburgh and Dr. Rudd, who also gave oral testimony in the congressional hearing, suggested that improving adult education programs so these adult learners can fill these middle skill jobs that are going to make up 80% of new jobs that are being promoted in the future, taking developmental coursework and condensing that down to 1 year, improving in the relationship with the industrial industry by providing apprenticeships and internships for students, and so they have a job when they get out of school, are some of the ways that their schools have actually improved the odds of retention for the students. One of the things, as far as how did the article reinforce or contradict some of the prior readings that we've discussed in class so far, Milton Friedman's 1985 talk, Should Higher Education Be Subsidized? I see his points as really kind of irrelevant, not just in 1985, but especially now. In 1985, we weren't dealing with this increased in tuition that was putting people in debt to the point where they're defaulting on their loans at a rate that we are now. We also weren't dealing with the level of diversity that we are now. That's requiring higher ed institutions to kind of rethink how, not only how they teach, but what services that they provide. All of these services that we mentioned earlier are really important, such as counseling services, additional financial aid, high impact practices, but they all cost money, and it's not something that it's an expectations that states feel that higher institutions must have, but they're not willing to fund it. And so higher ed institutions are having to streamline and try to figure out how those programs are going to be funded. As far as how the article kind of that I read and what we've read so far, how am I going to incorporate that into my current job in research? I'm really interested in the Democratic platform where candidates are referring to free community college. I do feel like free is just kind of a buzzword for taxpayer funded, and so I am interested in how, as a society, we can use universal education to our advantage and not make it to where what we're experiencing at the secondary education level, where you kind of have the have and the have-nots, right? You've got districts that are really wealthy, that are getting all the financial resources, all the technology, the best, teachers are staying longer because they're being paid better, they have fewer students, and I'm over here working in a Title I school and I can't even get computer access for my students. So my discussion question kind of centers around kind of how are we going to improve these programs with the financial resources that we currently have now. So in the past 12 years since the recession, we've talked a lot about, and Congress has talked a lot about improving and adding more funds to invest in higher education. So that hasn't really happened on a scale that's really made a huge difference as far as helping students attack their student loan debt. So my question is, how can we improve access and especially retention rates for our current diverse student body with the funds that we have now? So I'm looking forward to hearing your comments, and if you have any questions, I'm looking forward to answering that during the week. Have a great week. Bye.